name is Hope and welcome back to my channel. I like musicals, they're a big part of my life, and today we're going to be talking about 5 musicals that should never be turned into films. Now, every year there becomes more and more musicals becoming films, and some of them work, like Little Shop of Horrors, or Hairspray, or... well, I can't think of any more. But you know, we have movie musicals. We have In the Heights coming. We have Wicked. That will probably never happen, but there's kids still dream. But there are so many musicals being turned into films, but in my opinion, some of them just don't work. But anyway, this video is 5 musicals that should never be turned into films. They shouldn't, and I'm going to tell you why. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Number 1, 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. Now, I love this show. I love pretty much all the shows on this list. However, the format of Spelling Bee just would not translate over into a film. First of all, it's about a spelling bee. It does not really have a plot, much like things like Cats and A Chorus Line, which do not work because they lack a substantial plot. When in films, in stage shows, they can be extremely successful, even if personally, I don't really like Cats, but that's just me. Their formats just don't translate well over into films. We've seen this. It's obvious. Whilst I'm here though, I do want to read something I read on a Reddit post, and it's just one of those things where it's like, oh, your quote did not age well. So this is from like over a year ago, and it says, Cats will never get a film because the actors look nightmarish enough without the inevitable CGI. Their target market would have to be furries. Well, I guess they were after a load of furries watching their film with what they produced. But yeah, not only that, Spelling Bee has a lot of audience interaction integrated into its show. So it requires a lot on back and forth of the audience and this feeling of mutuality that you are watching a spelling bee, which I really just don't think get in a film. The show is great, it just wouldn't work as a film. I don't think it would anyway. Number 2, Avenue Q. Now, Avenue Q is already the R-rated 18+ version of Sesame Street, so already it pushes the boat out for its audience. Like, I've been to see it, I enjoyed it, but I think it's definitely for a specific kind of theatre goer, definitely not your classic. Also, the main part about Avenue Q is that the majority of the characters are puppets and people live on stage puppeteering. I think this would look really idiotic in film because I don't think it would work animated because they are literally just animated people, but then there are real people and it would just feel like Sesame Street in my opinion. And I don't think you could have people holding puppets because that would also look really weird in a film, but then you also can't just have people on their own because that defeats the object of like the originality of the show. So there are a multitude of reasons why this just like wouldn't work. And you might not know, but the original musical was actually set to be a TV series, but it ended up getting turned down, and so they turned it into Avenue Q the musical. But I just don't think it would just work in any sense because it would, for me, and I think for a lot of other people, just feel like adult Sesame Street, which just doesn't work when you have a mix of humans and not humans and this kind of crude humour that comes along with it. So yeah. Number 3, Spider-Man, Turn Off the Dark. Need I say more? Number 4, The Book of Mormon. Now, Book of Mormon, I really enjoy the show, but recently it has been getting a lot of things for its themes and certain things that it says. And I think that this would become even more of a problem if it became a mainstream film. Not only that, the way you would have to change Book of Mormon in order for it to fit a typical film format, I really don't think that it would help their case in anything. I think it would actually make it worse. Now, I think that I enjoy this show and I don't really have a problem with it because I think that everything is very surface level, whereas I think that they would have to develop it more if it were to be made into a film, and I just think that wouldn't do them any favours and would probably make it worse. I know that they wrote South Park and it's like along the same lines, but South Park is a TV show which is purposely not meant to be taken seriously, and Book of Mormon, while a lot of it isn't meant to be taken seriously, there are a lot of moments that are, so it would just be a better idea to just not have it be a film because I think that there would be a lot of repercussions and it'd just be better for everyone if it just stayed in its little musical bubble. And lastly, number 5, which is probably going to be quite controversial, but Hadestown. I don't think Hadestown would work as a film, live action wise. I think because of the way it is and its like mythological sense, it's very difficult for it to bring across what it wants to bring across in live action film. And the reason I say live action is because I think if they were to make it into a film, I think it would work great as an animated film. And by animated, I mean much like things like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I think that's what it's called, that kind of style of art. And I think that that would be the way to go with it, because I feel with live action Hadestown, it would feel like a very empty version of the stage show, which I just don't think would work. I feel like this one's really hard to explain because at surface level you would look at it and be like, oh yeah, that would make a really good musical, but in reality when you look at it further you realise that it really doesn't fit into a good category for what film should be about. I don't really know what I'm trying to say, but hopefully you understand what I mean. Like, I think Hadestown has some great songs, but I think the things that make Hadestown the show so phenomenal would really lack in film because they have easier ways to do it. For example, during Wait For Me, when they really utilise lighting design and they're swinging the lamps, they wouldn't do that because it looks weird, and they have no need to do that because they can light it in other ways. That sort of unique thing, and they also have like a live band, I think, like people playing like instruments, and I just don't think that it would transfer well over into a film. Even for things such as like being put into a compact space, like I think one really interesting thing about Hadestown is that it works for this confined space and makes it feel bigger and makes you transport to all these different locations and you can identify them, but yet the underworld itself really seems like its very own closed off thing, and I think they would really struggle to do that in film. There are just a lot of reasons why I don't think it would make a good live action, but I think if they did it right it would be a good animation, especially with things like on the final journey when Morpheus, one of the two, is like walking and he can't look behind him. I'll try not to give too much away. I think that would look really cool in animated, but I think it would just look a bit tacky in like CGI live action. But yeah. And that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, you can like it, subscribe if you feel like it. Keep enjoying musicals as much as me. I hope to see you next time, and I will see you in the next one.